Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be going over the easiest way to analyze your customer lifetime value with just 5 minutes of work. Now, I made a video similar to this last week or the week before where I went over LTV analysis and how you can sort of break down your customer deciles, but I'm going to build on this a little bit further with a tool that I made during the week, which pretty much automates majority of the process for stores and sets it up completely. Last time I made the video, I was sort of showing you how I would go about doing the analysis from scratch and creating it from scratch. But now I have a tool which just allows you to plug your data directly into an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, and it'll spit out all the insights for you. So if you don't know me or it's your first time watching, my name's Angus Cowan. I'm the founder of marketingemails.com. I've worked with over 100 e-commerce stores in the last 6 years since I started working inside Klaviyo and with email marketing specifically. And I guess that gives me the right to make videos like this about retention marketing, because the reality is I have seen a lot. Now, what I've done is I've put together this calculator, which I just mentioned, which helps stores create an easy analysis of their lifetime value. We've worked with all sorts of brands. Like I said, we've worked with more than 100 brands in the last 6 years, and we worked with over 100 alone last year in 2024. These are brands like Vumi, Flex Fitness, Pasta Popcorn, Privacy, Average Joe's, Manly, 5 by Flynn, Good Day, and plenty of others. Now, why am I making so many videos about this topic, retention marketing? Well, a lot of you would know retention marketing as email marketing, but in principle, email marketing is retention marketing. It's the process of trying to keep your customers around for longer or retaining your customers. And most stores, or I guess before I dive into that, the number one metric for retention marketing should be your customer lifetime value. What is your customer lifetime value and how can you improve your customer lifetime value? That is essentially how much do customers spend with you over the lifetime of their course with your store as a customer. So, if someone places 4 orders for $100 each, their lifetime value is $400. The more value we can extract from each customer, the more profitable we're going to be. And most stores have no idea what their customer lifetime value is or how they can go about tangibly improving it. There's email flows and email campaigns, yes, and for many stores, they're going to do the trick. And, naturally, customers are going to retain themselves. You'll have sales seasons like Black Friday. All this stuff is going to contribute. All your sort of standard marketing, all your sort of standard, fundamentals of running an e-commerce store. But what about unlocking real bottlenecks and making tangible long-term impacts to your lifetime value? Why do some brands never quite hit the heights they want to, but then you have some brands like the makeup giant Mecca go on to make $1 billion a year? And the answer is varying levels of customer retention. Now, the reality is, in a mature age e-commerce store, once you've been around for 3 to 5 years, 70 to 80% of your profit should be coming from your top 20% of customers. Some people will go, oh crap, so much of my money is only coming from such a small amount of people. But that's not a bad thing. The reality of having a healthy e-commerce store that is you're going to build a loyal customer base. Any sort of healthy brand will have customers who are their biggest advocates. There will be people who just continue to shop with you like crazy, and these people are going to be responsible for majority of your profit. This is the Pareto principle. Everyone knows the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, and it's genuine and it's valid, and there's no point trying to escape it. It's just a reality, which means that the average or the ideal LTV split of an e-commerce store is going to look something like this. 50% of your revenue comes from the top 10% of your customers. 20 to 30% of revenue is going to come from the next 20 and 30% of your customers, and so on and so on. And it pretty much dwindles out to the to the point where the bottom 10% of your customers are only going to be contributing 0.5% of the money that you make. And it's much more expensive, or this makes it much more expensive for you to lose a customer than it is to acquire a new one, especially in these top tiers. And acquiring new ones are tough enough as it is. So being able to understand this breakdown, being able to use this breakdown to find bottlenecks, and being able to use this to create strategies to improve your LTV is going to be vital to your profitability. So does that make your retention more important than your ads or your customer acquisition? No, they are just as important as each other. I want to make that clear. Obviously, I make a lot of videos about retention marketing, but that's because it's what I'm good at. I'm not an ads guy, but there is no retention without customer acquisition. But customer acquisition without good retention will just slowly bleed you. So what can you expect to get from this tool, and what am I going to show you in this video? Well, I've essentially made a tool that spits this out for you. And I'm going to show you exactly how we get to this point. But the output is going to show you your average lifetime value, your median lifetime value, your lifetime value or your lifetime gross profit value to CAC ratio, your lifetime value breakdown by cohort or by decile of customer, and a comparison chart of your lifetime value distribution versus an ideal lifetime value distribution. Plus, it's going to spit out 4 unique insights that I've created that are going to suggest strategies you can implement based on your data versus the ideal data. Now, I will sort of go through examples like this, and I'll go through pretty much what this exact breakdown means and what all of this means. Now, what do we need? You need Klaviyo data. I can't access this for you. Once you put it in the spreadsheet, I also won't be able to access it, so don't worry. You'll be making your own copy of the sheet in which only you can access. And optional or an optional input is going to be your gross margin and your CAC. That's going to be used to calculate the lifetime value of your gross profit against your CAC ratio to provide insight number 4. Now, if you don't know what your gross margins and your CAC are, don't worry. Majority of the insights can still be gathered without this data. However, I recommend knowing these numbers regardless. If you don't know what your if you don't know what your gross margin or your CAC are, you definitely need to work that out because it's imperative to pretty much running a profitable e-commerce store is knowing these numbers. Now, what is the lifetime gross profit value to CAC ratio? It's essentially exactly that. It's your lifetime gross profit value expressed as a ratio against your cost per acquisition. So, i.e., what is your lifetime return on customer acquisition? This is a good indicator. Essentially, if you're 1-to-1 or less than 1 as a ratio, it means you're losing money. It means you're paying more to acquire a customer than you're even getting in gross profit out of them. If it's 1-to-2, this is quite inefficient and you're not going to be able to scale super profitably. The reason for that would essentially mean, for example, you're spending $100 to acquire a customer and you're getting less than $200 out of them. Doesn't leave a lot of room for stuff like overheads, shipping, all sorts of OPEX, agencies, staff, tax, all those sorts of things. If it's at 2-to-3, this is pretty optimal. This means that you're spending an efficient amount of capital on acquisition and you're scaling probably pretty well. You can increase budgets or you can optimize further. If it's above 3, this means you need to increase your acquisition immediately. It means you're just so profitable that you should have a ton of spare cash and a ton of spare profit to be pumping back into your ads and to scale quicker. Above 3 just means you're getting so much return on your customers that you need to be acquiring more at this cost. It would be silly not to. So that's sort of a breakdown of this. Now, this is a bit of a side note. Now, step 1 in using this tool is getting your data. So let's go over and do that. Essentially, the first thing we want to do is go to Klaviyo and make a segment like this. Who has placed orders at least once all time? What someone has done, placed order at least once over all time. Then we're just going to want to crunch this segment. Once we have that segment, we're going to want to export this CSV. So we have the customer email. Then if we click or search historic, we want the historic customer lifetime value and the historic number of orders. And then we're just going to export that and wait for it to download. Then we're going to come over to the distribution calculator tool here. This is going to be the starting point. Let me just minimize this so you can see it adequately. So we have the LTV distribution calculator. It's going to ask you to make a copy, so go ahead and make a copy. Then what we have is the import section, which is where you're going to import your data. You have the data input, which don't worry about that. I'll get to that. And then you have the outputs. So first thing we're going to want to do is import the data. So file, import, upload, and we're going to find our export that we just made from Klaviyo. Now let's throw this in and we will simply wait for this to load. Depending on the file size, it should be relatively quick. Now what we want to do is click replace current sheet and import data. I'm just going to pause this for a second because I don't want you seeing all the emails of this store. Now we've imported all the data. I've just minimized the email column. You'll have your emails, your historic customer lifetime value, and your historic number of orders. So we can come across to the data input tab here, and it'll essentially format all of this for you and do all the required calculations. Now for this store, they have, I don't know, the best part of 80,000 orders, something like that. So it's going to import it all. It's going to rank them. It's going to group them into percentiles, deciles, percentage of revenue. You don't need to worry too much about this section unless you're really keen on understanding the maths. Essentially, you can skip this bit if you don't give a crap about the maths. But if you find it interesting and want to know how this is done, essentially what it does is it's just sorting, or it's sorting your historic customer lifetime value by largest to smallest. It's then ranking these people. It's putting them in a percentile. Then it's grouping them into a decile. Now, essentially a decile is 10 equal groups of your customers ranked in order of value. So the top 10% of people is an equal 10% split of your customers grouped by who are the top 10% spenders. So if you have 80,000 customers, your number 10 decile will be your best 8,000 customers. Your number 20 decile will be your next best 8,000 customers. Your number 30 decile will be your next best 10,000 customers. So it's, or 8,000 customers, sorry. So it's equal groups, or it's splitting your list, or it's splitting your list of purchases into 10 equal groups and ranking them by their spend. Now we can come to the outputs tab here and essentially get all of the outputs. This is all automatic. Let me zoom out so we can see this a bit clearer. So firstly, you want to input your gross margin and your CAC. I'm just going to zoom in actually so you guys can see this, and I'll go through all the data. Now, if your gross margin is 80%, put in 80%. If your CAC is $30, put in $30. If your CAC is $80, put in $80. Let's just use $80 for this example. So we've put that in, then we can see the outputs here. This brand has had 80,000 customers. They've had 18 million in lifetime revenue, or 18.4 million. Their average LTV is $230. Their median LTV is $150. They've had 130,000 orders. The average customer has placed 1.7 orders. The median customer has placed 1 order. AOV is $140. And the LTV GP to CAC ratio is 2.31 based on this data. Now, if you don't have this data, LTV, the only thing that will be affected is this one ratio and then unique insight number 4. So I think, like I said, I recommend having this data, but it's not vital for the rest of the calculator. Now, your LTV breakdown for this store, you can see their median historic customer lifetime value in their top 10% is $650, which represents about 34% of their revenue coming from these top 10% of spenders. Then you can see the next best 10% of spenders do 16% of their revenue, 11% for the next best, 9% for the next best, and so on. So you can see how many median orders these people have placed. The reason I use median is because average is going to be skewed by some crazy high spenders and some crazy low spenders. So we want to adjust for those outliers. Now, the downside to this data is it's going to incorporate anyone who's ever placed an order. So say you acquired 100 customers yesterday, they're going to be in this data and they're going to drag down all of the data essentially, because, you know, if you're acquiring new customers all the time and every day, like you should be, well, that's going to be factored into this. And for a lot of stores, it's in a lot of stores who are scaling aggressively, it's going to be why your median number of orders per customer is about 1, just because you've probably acquired a lot of customers and it's going to be dragging down that average. So one thing you can do when you're exporting the data is exclude anyone who is a new customer in the last 3 months. We sort of just want to look at customers who have at least been with us for 3 months or longer and have actually had a chance to retain. Now, the ideal LTV breakdown, this is sort of what we want. Ideally, don't worry so much about these numbers as it's going to be different for each business, but more so these numbers. What percentage of revenue should we be getting from each cohort in an ideal scenario? Then takes these two tables and plots them against each other where we can see this graph. Now, for this brand, their LTV curve is the red line, and for the other brand or the ideal brand, their LTV curve is the blue line. So what insights can we leverage from this? Firstly, for this brand, they're only getting 33% of revenue from their top 10% of customers, which I just showed you before. Now, ideally, we should be getting about 50% of our revenue from these people according to the Pareto principle and a bunch of sort of analysis I've done to validate this across bigger stores who have been around a lot longer and who are very healthy. So around 50% is probably optimal. So what we can tell straight away is this brand is not getting enough revenue from their sort of top 25% of customers. It intersects around this mark here, which is about 25 or that 2.5 decile. So around the top 25% of customers, they're probably at the optimal mark. They're not getting enough revenue from people who are in the top 25%, and they're getting too much revenue from the people who are below their top 25%. So in an ideal brand, you should be getting more revenue from returning customers and relying less on new customers. It's essentially what this means. So what we can see is if we actually go back to this data, well, this brand has a huge portion of their list that is a median order value of 1. Like 70% of their list or 70% of their customers have only really placed 1 order. Now, this is going to be typical if you're scaling, and like I said, the downside of this data is it is going to have a whole ton of people who have ordered in the last 3 months and who haven't even had a chance to place a repeat order yet. But this still holds true. Like, we still should be getting 50% of our revenue from returning customers. If you're a really younger brand, this is not going to be the case just yet. Like, if you've only been scaling for 2 years, you're not going to have super loyal customers as they haven't been around that long. And time will be on your side. Time will essentially help you get to this point. Like, if you just keep running your store and releasing good products, naturally over time, you will retain more customers and you will find you'll have a cohort of loyal customers. Like, if we fast forwarded 3 years, like this, there's a good chance this brand does have 40% of revenue coming from their top 10%, just as they continue to build a loyal customer base. But this brand being in fashion in particular, you do churn and burn a lot of customers. Like, they don't have a very long lifetime. Like, not many customers buy from the same brands for 5 years. You know, their fashion wants, or their the fashion that they like changes pretty quickly. So a lot of customers burn out quicker than that. So what we can still see, and what I guess I'm coming back to, is that this brand is still not getting enough revenue from their top 10%. They're only getting 34%. We should be getting 50%. And they're only getting 16% from their next best, where we should be getting around 20%. So in total, we should be getting about 70% of revenue from our top 20% of customers, and we're only getting 50% here. So there is definitely a lack of repeat purchase and a lack of loyalty with this brand that we need to dive into. Now, this sheet is programmed to give 4 unique insights based on your data. Let's go through them for this brand. Your top 10% of customers contribute less than 50% of revenue. We need to focus on extracting more revenue from this cohort. Consider how to increase their LTV by introducing tiers or rewards at certain orders, or by introducing tailored bundles. Good suggestion. How can we get more revenue out of these people? Well, how can we incentivize them to be more loyal? We can give them tiers. So, once they place a 5th order, maybe they unlock something. We can send them free gifts. We can give them exclusive access to stuff. Whatever we need to do to provide enough value to incentivize these people to continue placing orders, we want to do. This is going to take some brainstorming. It's going to be different for each brand. For fashion in general, in this instance, I'd recommend, once someone hits a 5th order, give them a freebie, give them exclusive access to certain ranges, whatever it may be. If you're in supplements, they might be able to unlock free samples at their 5th order, something like that. We just want to give them something that is going to incentivize them to keep shopping. Unique insight number 2. Your middle portion of customers have typically placed 1.5 orders. Not enough of these customers are returning. Consider how to increase their LTV by introducing tiers, offering exclusive discount offers on their next purchase, and looking at cross-sell opportunities. Post-purchase upsells may also assist here. So this is this middle portion of customers. Only half of them have placed a second order. The other half have still only placed 1 order. We definitely need to be leveraging this to encourage more repeat purchase. If we go to the ideal scenario here, we should have a good middle portion of our customers built out, and they should have all at least placed 2 orders or more. Like, the top half of your customers should have at least placed 2 orders. For this brand, the top half, or the 40 and 50% here, have only placed 1 order, so they're not getting enough repeat purchases. Again, we could roll out tiers, or we can do simple exclusive discounts on their next order. Once someone's placed a second order, we can encourage them, like, hey, get XYZ off your 3rd order. Once someone's placed their 1st order, we could let them know what they can look forward to once they've placed a second order, or we can even prompt a really quick post-purchase upsell to try and get people across the line. If someone has already spent $200 as a first-time customer, because the other thing to note here is you're going to see a split of all sorts of different types of first-time customers here. For example, these people are first-time customers who have spent around $200 on their first order. That's really healthy. They're probably going to be more receptive to some sort of post-purchase upsell or post-purchase cross-sell as they've already spent a good chunk of money with your store and they clearly like what they see. So provided they have a good experience, they're going to be more likely to come back. Where these people, they're a bit colder. They're just sort of dabbling in your store for the first time. They've thrown $50 at you, $80 at you. They're definitely not as warm as someone who's come in and spent $200. So for these people, we do want to focus on some sort of post-purchase upsell or cross-sell opportunity. Unique insight number 3, more than 4 deciles of your customers have placed a median order of 1. This is showing too much reliance on first-time customers, as we discussed. Focus on post-purchase upsells, customer experience, exclusive discounts or shipping on a second-time purchase, as well as replenishment and win-back flows. Now, like I said with the data, a lot of these people are going to be new customers who have only come into the brand in the last 3 months because this brand is scaling. So there is the context of that. And just by letting time play out, a lot of these people will probably just tick into a second order around the 2 or 3 month mark. But that doesn't mean we can't make sure we're doing everything in our power to ensure that this happens. So it can be a really, really good customer experience, good replenishment flows, good win back flows, whatever we need to do to move the needle here, we really should be focusing on. Post-purchase upsells can be a good one, 20 minutes after someone's ordered or 10 minutes after someone's ordered, send them a discount and say if there was anything you didn't get the first time round, make sure you jump on and you can grab it using this discount for 24 hours only or something like that. Or, hey, since you're a first-time customer with us, we wanted to thank you, get free shipping on your second order. Or, making sure that the package they receive has a really cool card in it or some sort of thank you letter for becoming a first-time customer, providing really good customer support, really clear returns policies, like making everything really seamless on that front as well. Like if someone has a super dialed in customer experience post-purchase, they're going to be more likely to come back. 4th insight, your lifetime gross profit value to CAC ratio is 2.31, which is above 2. This is healthy and means you can continue to scale with your current CAC and your current customer lifetime value. Above 2, if you remember back what I said in the Gamma doc here, 2 to 3 is sort of the optimal zone. So this brand is in the optimal zone and should continue to scale. But that doesn't mean they can't still optimize further. In this scenario, remember CAC was $80. So we do want to reduce that in the best of our ability. Gross margin's already pretty healthy here. So we might not be able to influence that. But the median orders and the lifetime value is low. Like one thing we've realized from this analysis is our lifetime value and our most loyal customers is not good enough. So the fact that we're already at 2.3 means we're acquiring customers at a healthy rate and we should continue scaling, but we're not getting enough value out of our customers over their lifetime anyway. So we should definitely be doing what we can to leverage this. So yeah, that's essentially how I would break all of this down. Like I said, this is a 5-minute exercise to even set this tool up. All you need to do is export from Klaviyo, import it straight into here. It'll crunch all the numbers for you and turn it into these beautiful outputs so you can get very, very clear insights on your brand and your brand's LTV and your LTV distribution curve. Like I said at the start of the video, retention is vital for the long-term profitability of an e-com store. You can't just keep acquiring new customers. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to scale. If your lifetime value is extremely low, that means your lifetime value to CAC ratio is going to be extremely low, which is going to impact your ability to scale. So the best way to scale quicker and scale more profitably is either reduce CAC, improve gross margins, or improve lifetime value. There's only 3 levers you can pull here. For a lot of brands, improving gross margins is tough, is what it is. CAC, you're probably already doing your best on the ad side, so you might as well be doing what you can on the retention side to improve LTV and really bump up this ratio so we can continue to scale at a healthy rate. Hope this video helps. This tool is going to be linked in the description of this video so you can use it yourself. It's free to use. Pretty much click the link, download it, make a copy, and then put in your data from Klaviyo and you are good to go. Inside, you'll also get access to this doc, which will have the video on how to get your data, another run through of how to use the calculator, the link to the calculator itself, and the link to book a free audit with us if you're looking to maximize your Klaviyo or identify any more areas of opportunity within your account. Hope this video helps. If you have any questions, comment them down below and I will get back to you.